Digital animation. What up? It's Mr. G coming at you, Twitch style. Does this look cool or what? I wanted to redo the lesson that we did all in one little short, succinct video. It is the UV introduction to just kind of how to mess with UVs, and just all you're going to be doing is playing with a celebrity face. And just kind of having some fun with it. Okay, so don't make anything look too pretty. Just kind of follow along and just kind of show the basic understandings of the basics of how to do a UV map. All right, so first thing we want to do is we want to go to Maya. So go ahead and select your Maya, get your Maya open, and you have a new scene. And let's just save it right now. File, save scene as, and we're going to call it, UV intro, or UV practice is what I might have called it in class. And we're going to make 4 things. So if you look at our canvas, a cube, a sphere, a cone, and a helix, and you do not need to change any of the settings. They can just be the basic settings. So I'm going to go to create polygon primitive cube, and I have a cube. Might make that a little bit bigger because I think all the other shapes get a little bigger. I got a cube. I'm going to go to create polygon sphere. I'm going to go to create polygon cone and a helix. Create, that's the little springy thing. Create polygon primitive helix. Remember, if I'm going too fast at any point in time, please make sure you can pause and rewind and just kind of check what I did. So we have these 4 basic shapes. We're not going to do anything manipulative to them. All right. That's step 1. Step 2, you're going to need a picture to put on each one of these objects. So I like to encourage you to do a celebrity face. That way the person's not going to get offended if you distort their image. It could be a make-believe face, like a cartoon character like SpongeBob. And I like to just have a face, but it really could be any image. Just keep it school appropriate. I'm going to find the best celebrity of all, this little handsome devil right here. Who is that guy, right? So do a Google search for whatever celebrity you want, and you're gonna, when you find the image, make sure you click on the image, right click, and choose Save Image As. Don't click on the thumbnail and do something else, okay? So that's number 1, okay? Number 2, you're going to save that image onto your desktop, and now in Maya, we're gonna apply that image to each one of our objects. I'm going to repeat it 4 times, and someone might ask, oh, can I just use the existing Lambert? The answer is yes, but I'm going to do this because of repetition, because I think it's good practice, and repetition works. Repetition is a good way to kind of just understand it. So I'm going to do this 4 times, the same way every time. So each one of these is going to get a Lambert surface, and I'm going to apply the picture instead of a color. So I'm going to click on my cube as an object, right click. I'm going to go down to the bottom here, and where it says right click, assign favorite material, Lambert. My attribute editor will open up, and where it says color, I'm going to choose the checkerboard box, and I'm going to choose file. And then over here on this tiny little folder, I'm going to click on it, and that's going to give me a directory path, and I'm going to find the picture I just downloaded, which is called Mr. G. Boop. Boom. And you're going to see a picture show up here, but it's still not on the cube because you have to press 6. So you have to press the number 6. Right? And so now it's there. All right. Repeating. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to click on it, right click, assign favorite material, Lambert. In the right hand side, hit the checkerboard box, go choose file, choose folder, find the picture, Mr. G. Some of you might be asking, Mr. G, can't I just right click and choose existing material? Yes, but I'm choosing Lambert just to kind of repeat my actions, just to show you, just to get you in the habit of learning how to do it, so then you won't ever forget how to do it just by repeating it over and over and over again. So you're starting to see my face on every single picture. One more time, right click, assign favorite material, Lambert, and go to the picture and use file. All right. Oops, hit folder. Now remember, if the picture's not showing up, you're pressing the number 6 on your keypad. Just press number 6 on your keyboard, and you're good to go. Now, each one of these pictures has laid out a little bit differently on my objects. So what UV mapping does is UV mapping lets you rearrange how this situates. And there's a lot of different ways the UV editor can work. So we're going to be exploring a lot of different options here. They're all just kind of meant to just kind of be entry level. We're not going to do anything too extreme. So let's first select our cube as an object in object mode. And we want to be able to see the UV editor. So the UV editor is similar to like a 4-view, but it's perspective on the left and then a different thing here on the right called the UV editor. So I'm going to go up here to where it says panels. I'm going to go down here where it says saved layouts. I'm going to find the thing where it says perspective UV editor. Okay. Just to kind of remind you what UVs look like, or what a UV is a UV is the next 3 letters up from XYZ. So remember, Maya works in XYZ world, and so the skin, remember, it's like peeling off of a box, or it's like peeling off the skin of each one of these objects and flaying them out, flattening them out, right? And so U is the X value in this world, in our color world, and V is the Y value in our color world. And then W would be this way, but that doesn't exist. It does kind of later when bump mapping. So that would be later. But right now we're just dealing with U and V. So that's why it's called UV. It's not ultraviolet because it's dealing with color or whatever. It's because it's the next 3 variables up from X, Y, Z. All right. The first thing you're going to notice is your picture is probably really bright. So you can actually, in this upper right-hand corner over here, you can kind of play with how bright that image shows up. So that way you can kind of see the UVs better. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do with this cube is the cube looks like an upside down Tetris piece or an upside down T. I'm going to right click on it and choose UV shell. So there's 2 new things we're going to learn. We learned about vertexes and we learned about edges and faces. Now we're learning about UVs and UV shells. UV shell is the equivalent of like a UV face, except sometimes it's more than just 4 sides. And then a UV is similar to a vertex. So I'm going to go UV shell here, and now I can select the whole T. And notice on the cube to my left, wherever I move this changes how I appear here. Right? Look how serious that picture is of me. I'm going to hit R for scale. And when you scale a UV shell, you almost always want to use the center one. So I'm just going to scale this until this square is covering the whole picture. So about that line, let me get it. I might need to make it a little bit bigger. Yep, a little bit bigger. And we can approximate it. It's not going to be perfect. That's okay. We could use snap and kind of, but that's good enough. Good enough, right? So what we have here is my face is on every side of the cube. So now I have it's like a die of Mr. G, right? What this should also be teaching you is that basically all these blank squares, the image here in the middle basically continues in all of these blank spaces infinitely on every side. So while we only see the image here, anything that goes over onto, let me go play with a UV for a second. Anything that plays over into other worlds doubles up or triples up that picture. Do you guys see that? Right? So the reason why I'm seeing multiple Mr. G's here is because this picture kind of repeats itself over and over again. But that's just, you don't have to do that. I was just kind of demonstrating something. So that's what you do with the cube, is you just grab the UV shell and scale it up and position it until it's in a spot that you like. Why can't I? There it is. Something like that. And it's okay if it's a little off. That's what you do for the cube. All right. For the sphere, notice I look very weird, right? I'm very stretched out. And the reason why that's happening, right, this is part of the lesson, right, is my UVs here are square. My faces are rectangular. So what it's doing is it's taking the information on that square and applying it to fit these vertices here. So one of the fun things we were doing was we were playing with the UVs, just the regular old UVs, and you can kind of manipulate my face to look way more distorted. You can have all sorts of fun. You can rotate a group of UVs. You know, you can make my eyes look really squinched together, or really distorted, and, you know, you can have some fun with it, right? But to make this look like a good UV shell, I just wanted to introduce the topic of scanning different ways, right? So this is the other part of the exercise. So for the sphere here, I want to select it as an object. I'm going to create, and I'm going to use a planar scan. So once again, the create option is in the panel of the UV editor. It's not up top. Actually, it would be up here. You could grab it up here as well. But we're going to go here inside the UV panel and choose Create Planar. And so now my UV looks a lot more like the sphere. Okay? And I can actually rotate my sphere. Or I can rotate the scanner too, which we're going to talk about later. And that's working fairly well. Now you notice I'm the same on both sides. Excuse me. I'm the same on both sides. That's because the planar scanner goes through the object. Let me do create planar options. Let me just switch the other axis. Right. So it's actually reading through the sphere here. So it's getting me two sets of a shell, the front and the back, which is why but this way it keeps it less distorted. So that's a planar scan. And again, you can manipulate the shell a little bit more. You can also play with the scanner tools here. So my face looks a little less or more distorted, but then you get a little bit more of a repeating image. So this is a good solution right now just for the introductory piece. So now I'm on the ball, the sphere. And it doesn't look as distorted as it did before, right? We went from there. It was originally like that, really distorted. And then we're now going back to something looking like that, which is great. You can also grab the shell and you can scale it so that it fits the way you want it to, right? So that's a planar scan. Now, let's go to the cone. The cone and the helix, they don't have to look as good. But let me just show you one thing. So let's go look at the cone first. The cone actually has two separate shells. Everything else was one solid shell. So we can actually break up shells and move them to work in different spots. And I'm just going to rotate it so it looks like that. So now you just get my whole face creepily on there, on the bottom there, something like that. But then my triangle shell here, I want to try and do a different scan. I'm going to try to do a cylindrical scan just to kind of show you how that looks. So we did a flat planar scan for the sphere. A cylindrical scanner takes that sensor, I like to call them sensors, and it warps it around in the shape of a cylinder, right? Again, this looks okay. It's not the ideal solution. But it's a quick way to kind of do a quick circular scan rather than a flat scan. And you can kind of shrink these down, make them bigger. You can kind of even tile myself for it to look something like that. You can have a lot of fun with these. But that's looking better. So that's called a cylindrical scan. Don't bother making this one look too perfect. We'd have to add some geometry or really kind of manipulate these faces to make it look just right. And we're just trying to practice, okay? So our cone looks something like that, which is still pretty cool. Just my face everywhere, right? So you can have the lesson learned with the cone is a cylindrical scan, and you can kind of make it tile, and then also you can kind of you can have separate shells. So speaking of separate shells, let's go to the helix. So with the helix, probably the best scan for it would be a planar scan, right? That would probably fit my face best on the helix, like so. But just to try something new and different, we're going to try the automatic scan options. So to introduce you to a couple other things here, there's an option box for each one of these UV creators, and there's different settings. So when we do the box, we're on the next project, we're gonna do less distortion. But for this one, we'll just do fewer pieces. And you can kind of experiment with these different types of sensors. You can have 6, you can have 3, you can have whatever. And go ahead and project that. Oops, I have to select it as an object mode. Go ahead and project that. And this, the reason why I'm showing you this is that you can have separate shells, a whole bunch of different shells, and it can become very messy very fast. So what I want you to do right here is just recognize where there's some clear pieces. So this is the bottom. You can see it right here, right? And you can still kind of manipulate and have my face look good there. This is the top part. And again, go here, move it. I'm going to rotate it, holding down the J key, right? And then these pieces here are going to get really tricky. So what we would do when we have our own character model is we would start figuring out how to piece these together and how to make them work. But for right now, right, there's my eyes. So now you can kind of see me there. It's just kind of meant for you to just kind of mess around and kind of play with and just see what those are. All right. Your Helix does not have to be anything good. I just wanted to show you how you can really break apart a UV shell and how chaotic it can be. What I could also do is I can find a UV shell here. Like if I want this face and this face to look good, well, I've located them now. So now I can rotate this. Is that the right way? This way. Make it bigger. There's my eyes. Right, and then this could be my mouth. Rotate this one. Oop. Rotate that one. There's my mouth. It's a little too small, so bigger. Right. So now now I look like a Picasso painting with an extra eye up there, and my face is bigger, and it's all kind of a little bit off. You can have a lot of fun with this. Something like that. Boop. Now I look all disjointed. You can get really artistic with it. Okay. But don't spend too much time on this. It was just meant to kind of show you how you can break apart. So that's your introduction to UV mapping. And just for the sake of practicing and turning this in, go ahead and go in object mode and select all of them. On frame 1, you press S, slide it over to the end at 120, and give it a twirl. So hit E and rotate it at least 360 degrees one way, but then also give it a little flip. Just go crazy. Have fun with it. Right? This class is supposed to be fun. Boop. And then press S when you're done. So now it has this nice giant flip twirl. And we're going to Playblast that out. What you should call it is 4_UV intro _ your last name. If you forget, it's right here, UV intro last name. So in Maya, you're going to right click over the play button and you're going to choose Playblast, which you can't see in the option box. Let me see if I can, let me make this window smaller so you can see it. Apologies. Right click, Playblast, option box. Remember when you're Playblasting, get the window sized and framed the way you like it. And make sure you go down to Browse. Remember the window cuts it off, so you want to open it up. Hit Browse, hit Desktop, hit 4_UV intro. I'm going to do this because I already did this once. Last name, so I put a 2 at the end of it just because I've already Playblasted it once. Save, Playblast, and then that gets turned in doubly to here. Submit your assignment, scroll down, hit choose file, find it, hit open, you can say hi, you can give me a little note about it if you want, hit submit. It takes a moment to upload and you're good to go. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was pretty quick. Please drop me an email if you have any questions. Okay. And that was our intro to UV mapping. Have a good one, guys.